All right, so this week you sent us some seriously interesting stuff.
Yeah.
It's the idea that there could be like other you-ises out there in other realities.
Yeah.
And they might even be like trying to reach out, trying to get in touch.
Right.
It sounds kind of wild, right?
And it does sound like science fiction.
Like straight out of a movie.
Exactly.
But when you really look at it, this idea,
Yeah.
it's not totally new.
Right.
I mean, it pops up in some pretty old spiritual traditions.
Exactly.
And even like in modern physics, there's like the multiple universes theory and stuff.
Absolutely. And it's fascinating how this concept kind of transcends all these different areas of thought.
Yeah.
Right? So what was once just pure speculation, now we're actually exploring it from all the, whether it's through physics or spirituality.
Yeah. And, you know, for you, our listener who sent us this material, we really wanted to do a deep dive into this.
Absolutely.
What are these signals?
Yeah, what are the ways?
How could your other self be reaching out?
Exactly. And what does it mean for you?
Yeah. And what could that even mean for like the reality that we're experiencing right now?
Right.
So we've kind of broken it down into 4 main types of signals
Yeah.
to look out for. So we'll talk about those sudden like weird physical and emotional feelings that you just get out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely.
Then we'll get into like déjà vu
Yes.
and dreams and those weird coincidences we call synchronicities.
Right.
And after that, we're going to look at how your own decisions could actually be shaping your own personal timeline. And then finally, we'll talk about some things you can actually do to try to strengthen this connection.
Yeah, that's a good point.
If it is really there.
Absolutely.
So let's start with those unexpected physical and emotional feelings.
Yeah, you know, the thing about these is that they're really easy to dismiss, right? You might get a sudden chill or feel like someone's watching. You're home alone and you're just like, oh, it's nothing. It's just my imagination.
Yeah, you just brush it off.
But the research you sent us, it points out that our bodies might be picking up on things before our minds even realize.
That's pretty wild.
So think about it. The electromagnetic field that's generated by your heart and your brain, some research suggests that it can actually sense subtle changes in the environment that we're not even consciously aware of.
Really?
Yeah, it's like an early warning system.
That's interesting. And, you know, it's not just a new idea either.
Right.
All that material you shared talks about how all these different spiritual traditions have been saying this for like a really long time.
Yeah, for centuries, right.
Yeah.
Like Tibetan monks.
Okay.
Kabbalah masters,
Right.
They all seem to be talking about consciousness as something that goes beyond our physical bodies.
Right.
Like it can perceive like vibrations or information from other realms.
Right.
Even in shamanism, they use altered states of consciousness to try to tap into these different layers of reality.
Wow.
So
You know, the sources say the key is to learn how to tell the difference
between
between a real signal and just a random feeling.
Okay.
Right. So look for repetition and contact.
like, does it happen a lot?
Exactly.
Does it happen at important times? Like
Yeah.
when you're making a big decision?
Yeah.
Or if you're thinking about like a big change in your life?
Exactly.
Okay.
If so, it might be more than just a coincidence.
That's crazy.
It is pretty wild.
And you know, it's not just physical sensations either.
Right.
What about like when you have recurring thoughts?
Yeah.
Like that thought that just comes out of nowhere
Mm-hmm.
and it just keeps coming back.
Keeps popping up.
Even though it doesn't really make sense.
Exactly.
Like it doesn't fit with what's happening in your life right now.
Right.
Your sources suggest that this could be like a message from another reality,
Yeah.
like a little nudge.
It's a fascinating idea.
It's a really interesting thought.
And then there's the unexplained emotion.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt like super nostalgic or really sad,
Yeah,
but there's no reason for it?
Like-
Nothing in your life right now can explain it.
totally.
I mean, science could explain some of it.
Yeah.
Right? They talk an emotional memory
Yeah.
and the collective unconscious. But what if it's more than that?
Yeah.
What if those feelings are like leaking through from another version of you
Whoa.
who's experiencing something totally different?
Like another me who's going through something else and I'm feeling it.
Exactly.
That wild.
It's a trippy thought.
So it sounds like it all comes down to being more aware. Like we need to pay attention to those little physical and emotional changes
Yeah.
and see if there are any patterns.
Exactly.
Because that's how we might start to notice these messages
Yeah.
from our other selves.
Right.
So, okay, let's move on to the second type of sign.
Okay.
Those déjà vu experience, dream and synchronicity. Like those moments where the line between realities gets a little blurry.
It's like the walls are thin.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Those initial signs we talked about, they're like faint whispers, but these are more like someone tapping you on the shoulder.
Okay, I like that.
So let's start with déjà vu.
Yeah.
That feeling that you've already lived through something before.
You know you haven't, but it feels so real.
Right.
Yeah.
But logically, you know it's not possible.
Right.
Now, science usually says this is just your memory messing up.
Okay.
But your sources offer a different explanation.
Like what?
They say maybe it's a brief moment of awareness,
Okay.
Like you're overlapping with a moment that another version of you is actually experiencing right now.
Whoa. So like our consciousnesses are kind of merging for a second.
Exactly.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay. And then there's synchronicities.
Yes.
Those coincidences that just feel too meaningful to be random.
Right. They're like more than just chance.
Yeah, exactly.
Your research mentions Carl Jung.
The famous psychologist.
Yeah.
He believed that synchronicity is the universe's way of connecting events and meaning.
Wow.
Like it's trying to tell you something,
Interesting.
and it often feels very personal.
Okay. So like, for example,
Yeah,
you might be thinking of someone you haven't talked to in forever,
right.
and then suddenly they call.
Yeah, or
Or like you're trying to figure something out,
Yeah.
and you stumble upon the perfect article or something.
exactly.
Like right when you need it.
And the more you pay attention to these synchronicities, the more they seem to happen.
It's like the universe is trying to guide us.
Right.
Or like send us little hints.
Exactly. It's really cool.
And then, of course, there are dreams.
Yeah.
We all dream, but
But what if they're more than just our brains processing stuff?
that's what your sources are suggesting.
Yeah.
A lot of spiritual traditions believe that when we sleep,
Mm-hmm.
our consciousness can actually travel to other dimensions.
And maybe even interact with other versions of ourselves.
That is a really interesting thought.
Have you ever had a dream that felt incredibly real?
Oh, yeah.
Like you went to a place you've never been,
Uh-huh.
but it felt familiar somehow?
Totally.
Or you met someone
Yeah,
and they really stayed with you even after you woke up.
absolutely.
Those could be the dreams that hold.
Okay.
You know, your sources talk about how there's a difference between normal dreams.
Yeah, the ones that you just forget.
Exactly. The ones that fade away.
Right.
And these more impactful ones.
Yeah.
The ones you remember.
The ones that you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah, full of vivid details and emotions.
Yeah, and they talk about lucid dreaming too.
Yeah.
Which is where you realize you're dreaming while you're dreaming.
Exactly.
And your sources say that this could be a way to like consciously explore other realities.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it?
But science is still figuring all of this out. We don't have all the answers yet.
Right, but
Yeah.
the important thing is to pay attention
To
the pattern in your déjà vu experience.
Mm.
Synchronicities.
All right.
Dreams.
Yeah, so like be mindful.
Exactly.
Notice those.
And by doing that, you might start to understand these messages
Mhm.
a little better.
Okay, so let's move on to the third sign.
Okay.
The impact of our decisions and our personal timeline.
Right.
This is where it gets really interesting, I think,
It does.
because we're talking about how we might be choosing which version of ourselves we become.
Yeah, if these parallel realities exist,
Right. If there are other me's out there.
which seems to be the idea,
Yeah.
then how do we decide which one we end up as?
Right.
And your sources point to our choices.
Our choice.
Every decision we make, no matter how small.
Even the little ones.
Yeah,
Wow.
it can change our lives.
Yeah, and that reminds me of the many worlds theory in physics.
No.
It's still just a theory.
It is theoretical, but
Yeah.
it's a way to understand how these multiple realities could be branching off.
With every choice
Exactly.
that we make.
With every decision point.
It's like a choose your own adventure book.
Yeah, kind of.
It's wild.
It really makes you think about your own life, doesn't it?
Totally.
Those big moments,
Mm-hmm.
that job you took or didn't take,
Yeah.
the relationship that worked out or didn't work out,
Yeah.
those choices that led you down a completely different path.
Like, what if I had done that other thing?
Exactly. And who would you be now?
That's so crazy to think about.
It is.
Neuroscience has something to say about this too.
Right.
It says that our thoughts and behaviors can actually change our brain, like physically change them.
Yeah.
Wow.
They create neural pathways
Okay.
that make us more likely to make the same choices again and again.
So like the more we do something or the more we think a certain way,
Yeah.
the more likely we are to keep doing it.
Exactly.
Wow.
And that could mean that we're aligning ourselves with a specific reality,
Okay.
the one where those choices are the norm,
So basically we're choosing our reality.
in a way. Yeah.
That is mind-blowing.
It is pretty amazing.
And it's not just about our own choices.
Right.
Your sources say that our other selves in those other timelines,
Mm-hmm.
they might have already faced challenges that we're going through right now.
And overcome them, potentially.
Yeah.
Right.
So like that feeling you get
Yeah.
where you just know you need to make a change.
Yeah. Like a strong urge
Yeah.
to break out of a pattern.
Like someone's telling you to do it.
Exactly.
Your sources say that could be guidance from another version of you.
Who's already figured it out.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
And on the flip side,
Yeah.
if you're stuck in a negative pattern,
Like a bad habit.
yeah, or a cycle that you can't seem to break, that might mean that you're aligned with a version of you who hasn't found a way out yet.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean there's no hope.
Right. Because we have the power to change
Exactly.
by making different choices.
Right. If our choices shape our timeline, then we can shift that timeline.
By making different choices.
By choosing differently.
Right now.
Right now.
That is really empowering.
It is.
Okay, so that brings us to the fourth and final sign.
All right.
What can we do to strengthen this connection?
Yeah. If we are getting these messages, are there things we can do to make them clearer?
To tune in better.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. So your sources talk about aligning yourself with your best self.
Right, your highest potential.
Yeah.
And you can strengthen that connection through your thoughts.
Okay.
Your emotions.
And your energy.
Yeah, your overall energy.
Okay. And there's actually some science behind this too.
Right.
Because everything vibrates.
Everything has a frequency.
Yeah. Like even us.
Yeah.
Wow.
And some frequencies are lower and denser, like fear,
Fear.
Doubt.
and others are higher,
Higher.
lighter,
Okay.
like gratitude,
Gratitude.
Confidence.
Confidence.
clarity.
So like good vibes.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And your sources talk about neuroplasticity,
Yeah, I've heard of that.
which means that our brains are always changing
Okay.
based on what we think and feel.
Wow.
So if you want to connect with a more fulfilled version of yourself, you have to start vibrating at a similar frequency.
Like raise your vibe.
Exactly.
Okay, and how do we do that?
Well, your sources give us some practical steps.
Okay, tell me.
The first one is to pay attention
To
all the signs we've been talking about.
Déjà vu, synchronicities, dreams.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it can be really helpful to keep a journal.
To write them down.
Yeah, write down any unusual experiences.
Okay.
Because when you focus on them, they become clearer.
Okay, so pay attention. What's the second step?
The second step is to change your mindset.
Okay.
Think about your best self. Who are they?
Okay.
What do they believe?
Right.
What habits do they have?
Okay.
How do they handle challenges?
Okay.
And then start doing those.
Be more like that best version of myself.
Exactly.
Okay, so like ask myself those questions.
Yeah.
And then try to live the answers.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. What else?
Well, there are also energy practices.
Like what?
Like meditation.
Oh.
Your sources explain that meditation can quiet your mind
Yeah.
and help you synchronize your brain waves to higher frequencies.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And there are also techniques like guided visualization and binaural beats,
Okay.
which can help you access deeper states of consciousness.
Okay. Where you might be able to connect with other realities.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And your sources also offer a specific visualization exercise.
Oh, really? Tell me about it.
Before you go to sleep, visualize the life you want.
Okay.
Really feel what it would be like to be living that life.
Okay.
And when you wake up, pay attention to any insights or feelings you have.
Okay.
This can help strengthen your connection to that best version of yourself.
So visualize and feel.
Exactly.
Okay.
And do it consistently.
Make it a habit.
Right. Because the more you do it,
Yeah.
the clearer the signs become.
And the stronger the connection gets.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you know what your sources say? That once that connection is strong, it can change how you see reality.
That is pretty amazing.
It is.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
what's the most important thing for our listener to take away from all of this?
That's a good question.
What do you think?
Well, I think the key takeaway is that our listener, you've probably been receiving these signals all along.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
The real question is, are you listening?
Okay.
Your research talks about how easy it is to get distracted.
Yeah. Life is busy.
Right. And we have our doubts and our routines.
Yeah. We get stuck in our ways.
And all of that can make us miss those subtle messages. It's
Yeah.
like the universe is trying to get our attention, but we've got the volume turned down.
I like that analogy.
But as we become more aware
Yeah.
and start paying attention,
Yeah.
the volume goes up.
So like synchronicities become more frequent.
Yeah.
Dreams become clearer.
Exactly.
And our choices make more sense.
Right.
Okay.
And this isn't something that just happens passively. You have to make a choice to align yourself with that best version of you.
Yeah.
You can keep going on autopilot,
Okay.
or you can choose to wake up,
To become more aware
to pay attention.
and to make choices that lead us towards that reality.
Exactly.
So that leads to a question for you, our listener.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
Now that you know all of this,
Will you go back to ignoring the signs?
or will you start paying attention
Will you try to strengthen your intuition?
and work towards changing your journey?
It's your choice.
And on that note, I want you to think about this.
Okay.
That version of you who's already living the life you want, who's already overcome the challenges you're facing.
Yeah.
They might be trying to guide you right.
That's a powerful thought.
It is. Think about what Nikola Tesla said.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration.
It's a beautiful quote.
It is.
And it's more than just science.
Yeah.
It's a choice.
That we make every day.
With every thought.
With every action.
Exactly.
What we used to think was fate could actually be a world of possibilities.
Waiting for us to explore.
And what we thought was just coincidence.
Might be a calling, yeah.
And the truth is, we've always had the power to shape our own reality.
We do.
The question is, will we use it?
Starting now?
Starting right now.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening.
We'll see you next